This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is a live market chat Thursday. Man, January 12th, 2023. Wide open. Gonna talk about everything basically. Willing to open up discussion for anything. Here to help out. If you want, I will start with what I'm thinking is happening. If you've noticed the markets, getting pretty excited about the CPI number coming in less than expected or in line, whatever you want to describe it as. Well, no duh. No one's surprised by that. Hopefully not, if you've been following the channel. Again, one of those things we talk about, it's not really as important as the reaction. Pretty sloppy day, sloppy choppy. Getting into some technical levels that are of interest. Financials tomorrow, getting pretty interesting. Now, I know a lot of people are jumping into shorts. I mean, I see the logic there. I mean, I've got longs paired against shorts at this point. All of my shorts are underwater at the moment. So, is what it is. Starting in small. Again, not all or nothing trading. Basically trying to, what I would say is kind of pair out so that if market goes higher, some of the names I'm in will do well. If the market goes lower, those names will do well as well. So, with that note, let me just jump into everything. Again, if you're newer to the channel, check out and you want to be part of the Discord room. Link is open for couple days. If you are not active, it's going to automatically boot you in 7 days, period, from when you enter. So it's one of those things where this room isn't meant to be someplace you just hide out and just don't get involved. Because if you are, it'll just naturally boot you. It's meant for everybody. Twitter, if you want to get in touch with me, that's the best place to do it. Hit me up on the messages. Check out, please, the Back to Basics. I get so many questions about things, and it's like, if you're following, just look up the topic in the Back to Basics series and watch these videos. I'm telling you, this is going to bring you a ton of clarity with a lot of things. Keep in mind, because trading is just not as simple as some people want to make it. Started taking some shorts in TSM today. Now, again, down underwater. As you can see, this thing is just boner green at the moment. We're coming into the next VAP zone. You can see there's a lot of trapped folks in here. I mean, the stock went from 58 going up to 88. Upside, I mean, their earnings are what they were. At this point, again, it's just a shot in the dark. I don't know. Could it get up to 92? That's always possible. And hopefully it will be stopped out. Basically linking about 90. Or just keeping it small, depending on how I feel. Again, because the thing that tomorrow is the earnings. And we also know about what ChopX is coming. So if the market's up into ChopX, I'd be willing to bet that it's probably going to be either a small continuation and flop, or flop then chop. Because this is the thing that I always am very hesitant and curious about going into earnings. Oops. Is I don't want to see the market up into earnings, because it becomes more likely a sell the news event potentially. So on that note, just keep an eye on that one. Gold, I mean, took some shorts around 176, 175 and change. Yeah, it's holding up pretty well. If you check out the 10-minute, switch screens. Give me 2 seconds. Boop, 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 boop. We had the pop and then the flop. Now, could we hit the pre-market highs? Potentially. It's always there. That's kind of where I'm looking to stop out. When you look at the daily, I've said this a lot. Gold is not always going to move in a straight line. Everybody anticipating CPI, and again, whatever the actual numbers were, sometimes don't really necessarily matter as much as the reaction. It's like, oh, there's inflation, now it's time to buy gold. Okay, well, that kind of thinking is exactly how people get really messed up, right? So we'll see what happens here today. I mean, again, either way, you have stops. I mean, if you're sitting around here waiting for somebody to tell you what to do, you got to know what your max pain is. You got to know what you're willing to be wrong about. So, and that's the thing, because that's trading. Anybody sitting here going, well, you got to do this, you got to do that, and this is the only way to win. Well, that's not how it is, right? That is just not how it is. Let's pull up the SPY real quick, because it looks like it is trying to pump. Pump. Pre-market highs again. You got them here around 398. We'll see if we get up in there. We're at the 200 day. And just keep that in mind. Like, again, I'm very hesitant to think that we're going to just rally. Because think about it, like when we took out the 200 days last time, we had some chop consolidation. I mean, 379 up to 3, I mean, do the math, 20 points. 6, 7 days. In a trader's market, is everything fixed? I don't know. Again, be careful. I mean, if you are shorting, longing, please trade around your positions, because you just don't know when the rug could absolutely get pulled, or if it's going to have to go higher and break out before a down move kind of thing. Just keep that in the back of your mind, right? Probabilities. Anybody here who's trying to pretend to play what I consider the economist, because those kind of, that thinking just drives me nuts. Like like, oh, well, inflation is this and that. It's like, the market's going to do what the market's going to do. It's not sitting around here going to moving based on what stupid economists say and what the talking heads on CNBC say. Because if that was, then 95% of your traders wouldn't be getting dusted annually. So keep that in mind. Watch the action. That's why I watch pre-market levels, because sometimes those are the levels that matter, and a lot of people don't realize that. QQQ, nice pop back. It was looking pretty fugly earlier. Could it get up to the 100-day here? I mean, it basically lines up when we just stretch it out. It comes in here. Is that possible? Yeah. I mean, again, at this point, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Let's talk about some of the names that were long. CF, sweet, nice little pop. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, give me that volume back. All right. If it hold, again, we've talked about this playing out the bottom, how this first dip would get bought. Now here comes the issue. It seems to be lagging. You can't argue that with the market. Could it get into a chop cycle? Just keep that in mind. If the market goes sideways flat, needs to pull back a little bit, it could get caught in the chop. Just know that in the back of your mind, right? But either way, I mean, you have, to me, a better risk profile, because the downside is baked in. Again, the market, this is stuff, like, again, in my mind, Mosaic, 42, same thing. Like, watch the 20-day, watch this 44, 45. The odds that this thing is going to absolutely implode and take out the lows would mean the market is just absolutely getting smashed. If not, it'll just chop out. That's how I think about it. TLT. Oh, crap. Hit the wrong button. It just organized everything for me. So that's a bummer in a weird way. Here you go. Coming on up. I mean, at this point, you're hitting some support resistance, making higher highs. We've talked about it. The market likes bonds being stable. That's all we can really say at this point, right? So let me pull into the commodities, because I got to restart my screens here, because unfortunately what I just did totally screwed. I pressed the dumb button, and it really just screwed up. It just put everything out of organization. So I just need to close it real quick. Do not save, and I'll reopen it. But also, it'll take me into Bitcoin, because it'll give me an opportunity. So here you go. Bitcoin, not surprised it's rallying. We talked about this. If you bought down here, it's a trade. Just remember it's a trade. Somebody was asking yesterday, like, hey, do I need to hold on to this forever? I personally no. But absolutely not. Like, that just doesn't, that's just not the I mean, it's the same thing as gold and silver. We talked about this. Like, you don't get paid to hold this stuff, right? And so if you have that in that mindset that you just have to, like, buy and hold forever, then you missed out. Because that worked for one part of the trade. Now you're in the trading zone, and could it be multiple years of chopping like it did from 2017, 2019? No, actually, was it 2017? Yeah, 2017 all the way to 2020. Like, that could happen. Now remember, the reason why Bitcoin went nuclear was what? Stimulus, unlimited stimulus from COVID. Like, I just don't see that happening again. And a lot of people don't want to hear that. They want to think, well, I don't know, Dan. And it's like, no. Please don't have that, because that's not happening just yet. And if it does happen, okay, well, we'll concede that when it does. Oil, again, not surprised. We talked about this. Maybe a head and shoulders complex, whatever you want to call it. Choppy. Looks all right to me. Holding up. Now, again, if the market pulls back, watch what happens in the mid-70s. Will we all not agree? Watch what happens in the mid-70s. Natural gas. Oh, boy. I mean, everyone's anticipating a huge rip here. The biggest thing that sucks about natural gas is, I know it's a straight line move. It's due to bounce. But could it just be playing the chop game? I don't know. I mean, natural gas is very, very tough. And we've talked about that 1,000 times. So if you're sitting here looking at natural gas going, I hope it just rips to the sky, I'm just here to warn you that the way that this thing can play out sometimes, not the case. So be careful, be thoughtful. Now, again, like it's one of those things where the first bottom, I mean, you hope it V's, but if it doesn't V, then you might be stuck in the spin cycle. You know, that's all I can really say, and try to be honest about it in the sense of like, that's just what it is. And if you're expecting a huge move in natural gas, I hope it happens. I just don't know for a fact. So any thoughts, questions, concerns? My charts are about to be flipping up here in 2 seconds. All right, there we go. Boom, 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 boom. Let me see if I can get it going. This is by hourly. Man, it sucks because I had a lot of stuff saved. Any thoughts, questions? Because again, pretty quiet here. It seems to be everybody's just like in shell shock that the market's ripping higher. I mean, it's one of those things where anything is possible, especially when you get into these like these news-driven, headline-driven days. You know, because you think about it, look at the wick here this morning, right? Like, look at that. It's a pretty damn long wick. 392. We're pumping up to 3. I mean, again, can we get to 400 today? I don't know. I don't really have. And again, this is what you gotta try to do is just be thoughtful that you expect certain things to happen, but you don't know for sure. And I think that's the problem here is I get a lot of people who hit me up or they ask questions about economic data or what the market's going to do because of this and this and that. And I just try to explain to people, like, take that crap out of your mind. No, it's there. No, it's there. Like, example, someone's like, hey, do you see that big 395 put play that just went through in the market? And it's like, well, is it hedges or is it straight shorting? We don't know. You know, like adding all these like variables makes this really difficult. And so I just try to warn people endlessly to remember that they are the ones creating these limited circumstances in their mind when the reality is anything is possible. I mean, you're just trying to trade probabilities. You're trying to find the levels. You're trying to find the price action that confirms that your beliefs. And when you're wrong, you're wrong. You're just wrong. And that happens. And as somebody who, knows that our win percentage is 80 to 85%, the question you have to be concerned about is, okay, what do you do when you're wrong? Like, that's the shit you got to be concerned about, because that's the biggest issue with folks. Yeah, everything's great. They're cool. But as soon as they start losing, like, they lose all their confidence and they can't execute. And when I say they can't execute, they can't use stops. They don't, they start going all or nothing trading. They're down, so they feel like they got to get it all back. I mean, it's all the stuff that the casino knows you will lose your money at some point, right? So, any questions, thoughts, concerns? I can see what's going on in the Discord room on another screen. I'm just going to kind of plow through some of these things. SMH, hey, that back test of that, that's an old trend line. Old trend line. Back testing, we'll see. Now, again, this is the thing. I personally, if I had to guess what's the best way to screw the most amount of people in the next week or so going into OPEX, well, again, it obviously varied. We thought the market would pull back first before going higher. Technically, I guess we did get that this morning, but I didn't think it would be just an AM thing. So that's incorrect. But now that we know what's happening here, if you're ripping up into the earnings for financials, ooh boy, oodogie, buy the rumor, sell the news. I mean, anyone have a guess of what JP Morgan's up for since their post-earnings low in October? I mean, you do the math there, 40%. That's a hell of a run. Hell of a run. Hell yeah. You see what I'm saying here? Like, that's a big run. And breaking out. And again, leaders lead. I get it. I can't argue that. But I don't like the action because of that. Because in the sense of the market makers, and think about it again from the market makers' perspective, now you got chasing. And if it pops up, then they probably can unload into people. So we'll see what happens. Any thoughts, questions, concern, even mic check? Can anyone hear this? I mean, it's usually full of questions. Pretty quiet. There's like 40 people in here, so I guess somebody's listening. Somebody's got their ear. Somebody can hear it, but it is what it is. Yeah, Bitcoin approaching. Okay. Yeah, Bitcoin hitting 19,000. Again, all these things that you would expect in a rising market with new money coming in for the year. I mean, I'm just kind of amazed how, what's the best way to describe it? It didn't seem obvious to me, or sorry, to others, that the market had the potential to rise up into the start of earnings mid-January. We talked about this 1,000 times. And now again, we thought the markets might pull back in the fourth quarter. But what are the things that you have to be aware of is that you have to pivot mentally. Like, you got to always start thinking, like, if I'm not right, then something's wrong here. And when you do that, you got to be very thoughtful of, all right, well, what's the next seasonality? What's the next Stock Traders Almanac seasonality time periods that you need to start thinking about? Because remember, earnings is typically bullish, but usually you have a dip before earnings. And when I say a dip, I mean usually you get a little dip, meaning 5% potentially 3%. Like, the market didn't really dip. All it did was Tuesday. Tuesday was the dip, right? That's not really much of a dip. I'd call that like like that day. I wouldn't call that a dip. Like a drop. Like, that's just, I mean, if we would have consolidated, I would have thought more. But here we go. Yeah, it's interesting. Get back up near the pre-market. Man, look at that on the 10-minute. Check this out. It sucks that I had to close everything without saving it, but I mean, you could not close over 380.98. Just keep that on the red in the reserves. Mosaic, same kind of thing. Let's just bouncing around. You're welcome. Trading it, just trade it. I personally would probably be taking a little bit of profits, just anticipating maybe it plays the chop game. Because if the market's in this overbought temporary position, again, it's not guaranteed, then it's probably better to pare down risk than increase it. Same thing with CF. I mean, you see it with NTR. I'd be looking to pare down some risk. Good old gold. Man, that thing is just holding up. Still not up at there, that pre-market lows. Maybe it needs to get up there because that's what it was. Pre-market low is 177. Oh, you son of a biscuits. All right, well, I guess we got to go up there maybe. Just keep that in mind. Again, I'm putting that thoughts in my brain. I mean, thoughts on gold and bonds are going bananas. I mean, again, I think the people who are buying gold right now are probably what? Chasing. Do you think smart money is buying gold right now? No, it's not. So you just got to be thoughtful of that. Where's the Discord link? It's on my Twitter profile. But again, that's, again, if you want to join, hit me up. I'm very picky who comes in there because I want people who want to learn, not people who are just like, hey, what do you think of this, Dan? What do you think of that? No, I want to help people refine their own work and try to add insights to their game to strengthen their weaknesses, because that's most of it is just weaknesses. What are your continued reoccurring problems? It's not that the market's really that difficult, because people love to blame the market, or they love to blame anything but themselves, essentially. So gold, we'll see. I mean, if it needs to go up there, I mean, I'll be ready with a little bit of a hammer. Silver, we've talked about it lagging. Right? Usually you want to see gold and silver kind of moving together. I really don't like seeing silver lag gold. I don't trust it. The miners, as we talked about, chopping. Okay, here you go. Making a slightly higher high. Haven't shorted the miners. Haven't really thought about it anyway. But, I mean, I guess that might be the play here at some point if you think gold pulls back. But even then, I'm not even really anticipating a monster gold pullback. I've thought in my mind 168 to 170 on the GLD, which is essentially just kind of where all this started in 20-day, all this area. That, to me, quick, painless. I mean, you've seen that with gold. Painless. I mean, more like painful. XOP, again, if you've bought some of this in the 120s, I'd be looking at taking profits up here. This area has muscle memory. I know, yep, it's the trend lines, the 200-day, it's a 0.382, it's a whole bunch of crap. Now, could it go higher? I mean, that's always got to be in the back of your mind. Yes, that's always possible. But do the math, right? That's a pretty solid run. I mean, again, this is the thing about trading. This straight line move cool. Like you hope you hit that, but most times than not, it's like it's just nice, smooth, not smooth, I guess the best way to describe it. It's more of this like rolling up. And so if you assume always straight line moves, that's just not how it works. So, and then that's the thing I think a lot of people struggle with is they're like, oh, it has to get from point A to point B in a straight line. It's like, no, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. Straight line moves typically lead to bigger volatility too afterwards. So you always got to be thoughtful. Remember, this is a trader's market. I don't think there's some new fresh bull market starting. And again, the media, when they start saying that's probably when the bigger shorts need to be put on. Put your pants on. Put your shorts on. Now again, anything that I'm doing right now, it's all very short dated. Expecting what? Chop X, pullback, temporary overbought positions to kind of wipe out what I would consider the frothy bullness, right? Greed, whatever. Because this is the thing. I mean, at this point, long-term bull bear market. Here's another thing that I'm kind of, again, we always look for internals. Like when I saw Amazon doing this today, I'm like, okay, they shouldn't be doing that if it's bullish, right? You look at Apple, like the market. I mean, Apple doesn't look that great. It's up at 55 cents. You would think, almighty ripper Tesla. No, it's just flatlining. I mean, I'm seeing it with a lot of the internals and some of the things, but we'll see what happens here. I mean, this is what, you have to just have in the back of your mind, what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? Like, that's the kind of thinking you have to always have in the back of your mind, because people just want to go, what if I'm right? I'm going to be right. I'm going to be right. I'm going to be right. And I'm just telling you, like, that's just not how it works. That's just not how it works. Does that make sense? It's the people who are humble and go, all right, I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong. I'm probably wrong. Let's look at solar stuff real quick because I'm down a little bit on this stuff. Tan, nothing saved. I have to redraw all this crap. So I apologize. Coming into the top of my box in one. First solar. All right, not surprised. And this is why we talk about retest, multi-day ranges. Not every move is just a straight line, breakout and fail, or a top and just fail. Like, I mean, this is the thing about layering in, being able to admit you're wrong, do not chase. Because, I scream this all the time. Please don't chase anything. If the market's speeding you up, is the literal velocity of your mind being sped up by the anxiety you have, or by actually, like, it is important that you move quickly? Because a lot of people, like, trade from their phone, or they trade the first hour of the day, and they're like, oh, I got to get into all of it right now. I got to get this position right now. I got to get it. Oh, this is the only 5 minutes I have to look at the market. Oh, here we go. I got to get in it. I'm in. I mean, that's what the market knows you're going to do. And it's just no different than like a poker analogy is like, all right, we're playing poker here, and you're going up against pros, and you're literally playing. You just sat down at the table, and you're thinking that you have to play every hand real quick and get your money and get out. And as easy as that seems, that's not like again, you're not going to get pocket aces in the first 30 minutes of your table game. You're not going to get a made hand. And that's just the nature of it. And so as much as everyone wants to say, like, hey, how easy is it to pick a top or a bottom? I'm telling you right now, even me personally, to nailing exact tops and bottoms, a quarter of the time. A third if I'm lucky. It's usually like, all right, you're in the right zone and you're within $1, $2 or $3. I mean, depending on the stock, $2 or $3, 50 cents. I mean, all of these kind of things. Like, that's like the thinking you have to be thoughtful of. So, SMH. Yeah, reviewed that one earlier, but I'll do it like one more time. Old trend line there. Zinga, 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 zow. Okay, Mike is good. And the bottom of the range. Now, again, could we get up? We've always said, could it get to 230.43? Like, that would be pretty crazy. Do I believe it'll get there? Not in a straight line. No, I don't think so. I don't think, again, I personally don't think the market's about to rip straight higher in mid-January. Because, again, if you go look at the Stock Traders Almanac, or again, if you see my notes, like, typically January is bullish early on, mid-January. And again, if Solomon's listening, he was like one of the people like, oh, there's no January Santa Claus rally coming. I'm like, all right, bud, it typically does. And especially if the volatility was holding in the low 20s, it felt very logical that it would. Now it's just going to get there in straight lines. Like, that's the thing about people, like, speaking of patience. Like everybody thinks like I have to go long or short on the first move, or if they're buying this, like, you know, like how many people in this, what's crazy, held the 200-day. Do you think smart, patient traders are buying this today? Like, think about, sometimes step out of the box and think about the emotions of what's going on in the market right now. And it's crazy because, I mean, I think a lot of people are sitting here like, well, tell me exactly how this works, Dan. And it's like, no, I can't, because I don't pull the strings. I can only think about what I've seen and how I've seen things play out and think like, all right, well, how's the market going to screw over the most amount of people? Like, that is becoming, because again, like people talk trend lines and fibs, all that stuff, volume, it's all great. Trust me, I use it all. But there's always something in the back of my mind that trumps all of that. And it's how can the market makers take the most amount of money from the most amount of people? Because that trumps everything. I try to explain that to people for years. Because they get very technical driven. And if it was just, if trading was all technical all the time, it'd be easy. It'd be so easy because you just be like, all right, I'll wait for this spot and I'll wait chart that and and boom, I'm in. Good, great. All right. Here comes the check, mailbox money. It just doesn't work like that. And so that's where the art part of like, all right, reoccurring patterns, setups, traps, knowing what's coming, news, all that stuff. Does this make sense? All right. So again, I wish, and again, I wish I could tell you exactly what's going to happen all the time. And we talked about this kind of joke earlier, like, this desire for certainty and to be right all the time, if my boy Galleg's living, like, that is what's going to screw you over. Like, the desire to be right versus the desire to do what the market's going to do. Because that's how that's one of my earlier blow-ups, you know, where I had to, like, win big, blow up. Start making back money, boom, blow up, come right back. And it was more because I honestly thought that I learned a lot of information, made good money, and it was like, well, I believe the market's going to do this, and it has to do that, and I'm going to be right. And it was like, whoa. Being right and being able to pivot are different, right? Being right thinks that, like, you determine what the market's going to do based on the information you know, and we don't know everything. Like, you have to, like, you just have to be comfortable with your lack of vision, right? It just has to be what it is. You have to trust the process, and to get to that point, you have to have good discipline, because most people don't have good discipline, hence why they don't trust the process. Does this make sense? Because I can guarantee without a single doubt that if you don't trust your processes and your disciplines, then you don't have confidence. Probably why they call gas the widowmaker. Easy to get trapped. Yeah, I mean, it's very, 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 very easy. It's just kind of UNG in it. Oh, come on, market for solar. Taiwan Semi, take a break. God, I hate this ETF. I mean, it's got volume. It's got volume. I mean, is this the biggest volume? No, it's not the biggest volume. It's pretty solid. But again, I mean, what's crazy is this, it's like what's an ETN, not an ETF, right? So it just decays. It's just post-reverse split. Yeah, this thing has just always been very tricky. Very, 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 very tricky. All right, any thoughts, questions, concerns? Know your stops, know your levels. And that's why I always think it's funny when people are like, where's the best stop? And it's like, I don't know. We don't know how high something can go or some low, but like, do you know how much you're willing to risk? It's no different than we're gambling here. What's your max loss? What are you willing to tolerate? What do you think is appropriate to figure out if you're going to be right? Does this make sense? Like, for me, it's like, man, it's pretty hard for me to get super annoyed because, again, I've got paired positions. XOP, Mosaic, CF against First Solar, Gold, and TSM. Right? And again, didn't short TSM until today. How do you find stocks like BA before the moves happen would make me happy? Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We've been doing that. I mean, I don't know. AA. What do we talk about down here? We're like, that was a gift. That was the day we started reloading. Or started loading, actually. Roblox. Real simple. Talked about down here. Again, if you're taking profits over, like we recommended yesterday, 2-day range, not really going anywhere. Okay. I mean, just be thoughtful. Be safe. We talked about the endless short in Tesla up here. Short that. Now I said, well, you could sell Tesla Q calls. You could probably buy it down here for a trade. Okay, right? I mean, it's just, it is what it is. There's a ton of trades out there. I mean, I don't even care to review all the ones that I'm in or been in or failed, didn't work. I mean, it's just, every trade's a little different. That's why the thing is, you don't know until you bet it. And I always love when people are like, well, that was easy. And it's like, well, no. Remember we talked about buying? Who remembers in end of December when the average hater troll was like, oh, the market's going to dump. It's gone. It's going to the dirt. You're all screwed. Everybody who's hanging out in this room. And I was like, all right, well, let's let the levels take us out if that's true. And you could have traded this. I think the only person who I really believe that, and again, because I don't know everybody's thoughts, but people who hit me up, Ready, Set, Sell was the only one who's like, I'm staying bullish. He's like, you're right on this. Like, this makes sense. We have not trapped everybody yet. And then even on the Tuesday pullback, I mean, he went long. I mean, he's in the mindset very similar to what I've tried to explain. Like, all right, can we pull back now? Yeah, again, small shorts, temporary, maybe. Again, layering in, maybe it goes a little higher and before it pulls back. Either way, near term, Chop X is coming, right? Chop X is coming. We know that for a fact. The VIX is down, 19 today? Okay, keep that in mind. Bank earnings. Again, I don't like market rising to earnings, but this week, not once did I decide put on a short until yesterday with First Solar, very tiny, and then added a little bit today, and then some of these names. And then the only reason why, but I have paired against longs. Does this make sense? Like, I still think the market could go higher, and if I'm stopping out, fine. But we have not seen the headlines of the bull market's back and people getting wiped out, meaning bears just giving up. Bulls just going, well, I can't time the market. Like, I love that. I can't time the market. Wah, 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 wah. Okay. If you can't time the market, that's fine. Neither can I. But we know the levels. The levels matter. Just kind of sitting here watching the 10-minute on the SPY. You can see it just cannot get over this 398 area yet, potentially. But this is interesting. You finally have slightly above average volume and indecision. So, on this note, again, any questions, thoughts, concerns? I mean, I appreciate all of the love and support. Like this, I'm trying to give you guys the best insights, and I wish that I was always right. But the people who hang out and follow, I think they're learning how they become their own masters of their own trading account and with their understanding. They're not sitting in their mind going, I wish the market was easier, or I wish this was this. No, they're manifesting their own education. Because again, my mentors always said, don't wish the market was easier. Wish you were smarter. Wish you knew what the hell was going on. Study. Like, wish you had the ability to understand the markets, not make it think it was easy. Because it's never really going to be easy. That's the problem here. It's like it's always constantly changing. And what to me seems easy now is because of experience that you're hopefully learning as well over time. Like, you are gaining experience from watching the market play out as it does over and over and over and over and over. All right, let's pull up TSM. I'm listening to you, Banff. I mean, that's looking like a pivot point. 2 10-minute candles. Again, I wish the volume was slightly higher, but it is been stretched out. That's very clear. Thanks, Tim. I'm glad this helps because, again, I really think people are searching for the wrong kind of thought process. They're looking for certainty versus how the hell do I trade a market that is uncertain? And it's no different than, again, just like poker or some sort of casino game. Like, you really got to be thoughtful of when the odds are in your favor and then still realize, like, you could be wrong. Now, again, here's the thing about the TSM short. In my mind, if you take the short here and it pulls back, and I'm going to say, and I say this all the fucking time, excuse my language, the first drop probably gets bought. So what if it's the 200-day? Right? What if it's just the 200-day? I mean, that's all it might be, is just the 200-day. It's this range. So don't get in here and go, well, I'm all in short for the big move. Well, I don't know. Don't know about that. Be careful. But if it ends up being great and you start a position here and you trade around it, even if it's not your core, like this is where it gets a little tricky sometimes. And I think people mistakenly trade the first top. Like if this pulls right back, remember, we don't really trust V tops and V bottoms. Do they happen? Yes. But are they the norm? No. Could you call this a novice gap? I mean, yeah. I mean, we could talk about all the different ways this thing looks potentially like a top. But I'd be willing to bet, just like kind of like CF, like it pops and it pulled back, and then you had a higher low that you could buy and trade. XOP, same kind of thing here. If this pulls back, there's probably going to be a lower high to short, or if the market continues up to 400, SPY 400, 45, 410, 415, whatever it ends up being before the top in a decent sized pullback potentially, because remember, JP Morgan's got that straddle on. 4,300, 3,600. I mean, can we get it to 4,300? Maybe by February. But keep in mind, it's not going to get there in a straight line move. Like there's going to be weeks where the market pulls back 3, 2, 3, 4%. Like it's just not going to rip straight up. That's where when you get in these overbought positions, I tend to hedge longs with shorts or take more profits and go, all right, well, if it keeps going, great. I'm not going to be pissed off about it. But if it does pull back and I'm holding fully with my dick in my hand going, oh, I was hoping it went to the moon, and it didn't, now I've wasted, again, the ability to harvest profits, pay myself, and get into the next trades. I don't think people understand how important that is, taking profits. Because no matter what happens, when you take profits, now you're paying yourself, you're doing the right things, and what if another opportunity comes up? What if all of a sudden a better trade presents itself versus the one you're in? Like people don't understand the opportunity cost of just sticking and holding. Because they see one trade, 1 year, they think everything is a Tesla or a Bitcoin. And the reality is it's not. Okay? I hope this makes sense. I hope it's like clear as day, like why that makes sense. Because the average person just goes, I don't want to think. I'd rather turn my brain off. And it's like, you are not a fucking computer. Excuse my language. You can't do that in trading. You just can't. You always have to be thoughtful and emotionally intelligent. And that's why we talk about the draining of your mental capital by wasting your time on stupid stuff. Doesn't allow you to focus on like the simplistic things of taking profits, managing trades, all or nothing trading is gambling, and being thoughtful of what's going on around you. Oh, but what's the CPI number going to be exactly? 6.5, 6.6, 6.8, 7.1? Okay, I don't know. Let's just look at the reaction, right? Or what happened in this? Did you see that big options block trade go off? Okay. No, I didn't. I don't care. Do you know what the earnings are going to be tomorrow? No, I don't know. I don't care. I'm trying to put myself in a position to be neutral. I think one of the funniest things that I loved seeing this morning in the Discord room is how many people slept like a fucking rock and didn't care what happened today in the CPI report. And then now they're taking their trades accordingly. Like, that's awesome. That's what you got to be. You're not sitting here gambling all the time trying to get rich on every single move. Your goal is to like print money. Run this like a business. Every once in a while, yes, you'll get lucky and make a monster. But the goal is just to hit singles, doubles, triples. Maybe you hit a grand slam once a quarter. But from day to day, week to week, you got to be in the mindset of hitting singles, hitting doubles, looking for certain trade opportunities, knowing what's going on around you, knowing that the market is in a trading range. It's in a bear market, it's in a trading market, it's going to be volatile, whatever. You kind of have to know that and then stick to that. And again, what happens if you're wrong and you're making money? Oh, end of the world? No. Oh, you stopped out and you had minimal losses? Well, guess what? There's always another trade. Nope. The brain's got to be certain. It's got to be like half of the people that come into the Discord room not know what the hell's going on and pretending like they actually are winning. And that's what bothers me. It's because like I know, doing this 20 years, like I know what leads to losses. And I know what usually wins. But again, even with what wins is always no. But there's things that are like guaranteed to lose. Oh, well, I had to buy puts last week. I had to do that. You had to? Like, who are you reporting to? Who is this had to? I had to do this. What the hell are you reading? What is telling you you have to do anything? Oh, I think this and that. Okay, well, is the evidence presenting itself? Well, I read this and I saw this. And it's like, holy crap, you are literally tapped into the market makers and they're feeding you how to lose. The TSM Pro Gap? Well, come on, man. A Pro Gap is at a low, right? Pro Gap, you don't... That's like a Pro Gap. That might be, again, Pro Gaps typically aren't at the highs and the lows. Those are novice gaps, right? Lee, come on, bud. You know better than that. That's a Pro Gap coming off a bottom. Now, again, this could be a continuation gap. That's different. But a Pro Gap, no. I'd be more likely to think it's a novice gap, where here you get up and then at worst you pull back later. This, again, no. Pro Gaps start the move. Novice gaps end the move. See, novice gap up here. Everybody's excited. No. Right? Everybody's probably thinks the end of the world. Professional gap starts to move up, right? Professional gap starts to move up. Novice gap starts the down move. I mean, you see how this works? There's continuation gaps sometimes too, though, right? And again, sometimes the novice gap that could look like a pro gap, this leads to sideways action. This is where I think people get so like mentally spent, is that they look at this and they go, all right, it's gapping up, it's got to go. No. Again, it's almost like a straight line move. The stock in that example went from like 86 up to 102 or 103. Well, of course it goes sideways, right? Like, again, when you... Eric's listening. Like, we had this conversation, and it seems very, like, biblical in nature, or very, like, what's the best word to describe? Like, Socrates kind of stuff, like philosophy. And it's like, the hardest thing is typically the right thing to do. And we talk about that. Like, the hardest thing is typically the right thing to do. Well, what's the hardest thing? Right? Going against all of your emotions, right? When you're like, I can't sell this stock. I can't sell it. I gotta know. I gotta know. And then what? It doesn't, right? Like, it doesn't do what you think. So I hope this helps. Oh, man. Facts. Yeah, there you go. What's up, Eric? You know what I mean, man. Like, the hardest thing, right? Today. Like, imagine if you bought TSM and you saw this action on the earnings. Could you sell if you were long in today? Probably not. Right? The SPY. Now, again, look at it from here. Look at, like, the 10-minute. Like, you just know this is just wrecking people's worlds. They're going, oh, I'll buy it. Now I'll sell it. Oh, I'll buy it. Oh, I got to sell it. What do I do? Nobody's trading extremes, right? They're getting caught. All right, we'll see what happens when it gets over this, because I'm not surprised if it could go higher. We talked about it. The emotions of trading are, I mean, this is why it's like crazy how I tell people, like, I will give you all the knowledge and share with you blindly. Like, I don't care. I just know most people can't, like, and that's why the market's like, knows, like, you just can't execute it because your emotions are clouding your judgment. It's no different than, we always make that analogy, golf players. There's probably hundreds of thousands of great golfers in the world that are all amazing, and you've played with one of them. I've played with them. They just dust everybody. But the real pros are the ones who are mentally the best. They can execute under pressure, right? Like, they miss a putt, they move on. They hit a bad shot, they move on. The ones that can't, like, they miss a 3-foot putt, and then they're round. Again, if someone's watching, money's on the line, pressure, then next thing you know, they shoot an 80, 90. They look as vulnerable and as weak in golf as some of us are. Does that make sense? So, again, I mean, that's why I always love talking about the generic, I guess they're not generic, but the psychological part of this, because that's the most important. Everyone can see levels, lines, volume at price, trend lines, Fibonacci's, layer in, layer out, take gains. It's just, can you execute it mentally? Like, that's always my hardest part. It's always going to be yours, right? Like, how hard is it to sit here and watch any particular stock move in your direction and go, I need to sell some. Oh, or I got into a trade. It's not working. I want to give up. I need to give up. No one wants to do that, man. Nobody. What up, Jay? Newmont, 3 gap trap. I guess from this one, so that would be a little professional gap. 1 gap, 2 gap, 3 gap. Man, you were so close to the 200 day. Has it short armed the 200 day before? Let's go to the videotape. Ooh, you have before. Yeah, it's different when it's coming from below. Yeah. Ooh, that's kind of sneaky. Look at this one. Gets there, pulls back, then hits it, and then... I mean, if you wanted to layer into Newmont as a short here, I mean, it makes sense to me. It's just if the market holds up, the first dip might get bought. So, I mean, you probably could get down to 49.50 area, right? 20 day, maybe it's all like curling up. Again, any short that I have right now is just, it's near term. It's near dated in my mind. Like, it needs to happen pronto, like starting this afternoon, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday. Like, I'm not, and again, like, the levels matter. Obviously, if the market wants to go higher, then you got to go. And here's the thing about stopping out, and the people who've been around know this. Like, the stopping out process allows you to get back to neutral and go, all right, well, if it wants to go higher, great. And if it's just a trap, well, then you can get back in later. That's trading. That's trading right there. Let me look at CF real quick, because I mean, I'm a little nervous about this thing. Like, is it really going to take out the freaking highs here? Or is it coming back into the top of like the zone? I mean, I guess you could say 86 to 85. I don't know. I mean, it all depends on what the market's going to do. All right. Good chat. Any thoughts, questions, concerns? I mean, just, I want people to learn that the market is doing what it's going to do. You have to dig into yourself, your own psyche, your own weaknesses. Like, and this is the thing, and someone's probably going to be pissed, or I'll probably lose some people out of the Discord room or in following, but I don't give a shit. Like, this is the honest truth. Like, your issues with how you've learned to do things might be the exact reason why you're always going to malfunction and be weak. Like, at a certain point, everybody has to do this, and I've done this, and I know a few of the folks who follow have. You strip down to the basic layers of your own thinking, what you know, and you go, well, does that make a difference? Does that work? Nope, scrap it. Oh, that's noise, scrap it. I've always done this, doesn't help, scrap it. Like, you want to get to that level. And a lot of it has to do with people who believe like they're looking, oh, I get the dark pool data. Okay, well, the dark pool data usually lines up with the VAP zones. And again, is it really the data you're getting? You're paying $1,000 a month. Well, the people who are really trading high level algorithmic trading are paying hundreds of tens of millions of dollars for the information. You think the information you're getting is good? I don't know. Oh, well, you have an options, you're following some options tracker. Okay, well, is that really always right? Oh, but I follow this guy on Twitter. Well, okay, well, what is his, like, what's his track record, right? Like, is he only traded during a bull market, or has he only been posting for a year or two? I don't know. I mean, do you really believe that this person knows what the hell they're talking about? Okay. I mean, again, there's a multitude of these things. Or you started trading, you got lucky, you think you're good, which is usually how a lot of people screw up. That got me. I mean, I thought I was smart real early on. And also, too, like, here's the last one that I would think about. In your mind, when it comes down to it, like, do your emotions control your trading? Or does the trading and the evidence control your trading? Now, that seems very simplistic, but that's the reality, right? Like, do you feel emotional? Do you get high when you get into a trade? Do you get excited about the outcome? Because I don't. They're all the same. Every trade is absolutely the same. Now, some have better odds and probabilities, but the entries and the exits and the thought process, I don't try to get on this roller coaster of emotions. I don't try to get excited when I'm winning, and I don't try to get down when I'm wrong. It's always, what does the evidence say? Am I early? Is this continuation? Do I need to be thoughtful about what's going to happen? Do I need to take some profits? Like, that's what needs to, like, that's how your brain needs to think. And if you're not doing that, and you're getting the dopamine highs, you're getting the freaking cortisol, like you're starting to, get excited, then you're not, again, the market, it's no different than the casino knowing, like, feed you drinks and you're going to lose. I hope that makes sense. Because now you're, instead of drinking at the casino, you're sitting at home in your own chemical cocktail of excitement or regret or constant, like, swirling thoughts. Like, again, check your heartbeat. I wouldn't be surprised if half of y'all are trading, sitting at the market with heartbeats running over 120. I mean, I check mine. If it's, oh, hey, Siri. No, my heartbeat, I want to see it in the 60s. Maybe in the upper 50s. Like, I want to be calm and cool and collected. I don't need to get excited about this shit. I don't need extra emotion. Now, again, you can use emotion to, like, feel out how the market might feel. Like, I love that. Like, if you're all of a sudden getting excited, it's like, whoa, hold on. What am I getting excited about? The market's action. Man, are they going to pull the rug on it? All right, well, let's start looking for levels and what's going on. I hope that makes sense, like that kind of thinking. Like, the hard thing to do is the right thing to do. All right, TSM holding up, gold, just flat. First solar flat, CF back near the highs, Mosaic, okay, XOP near the highs. SPY trying to get over 383. Is it going to do it? Not 398. It looks like it. It absolutely looks like it. Let's get the 10-minute. What time is it? Got 3 minutes. Does it just do a straight up? Maybe not. All right. Any thoughts, concerns, questions? I mean, I'm trying to be honest with people because I think people get into trading and they go, well, everybody's just getting rich and making money. No. That's a bunch of lying. The people who are really making money are the ones who are paying themselves. Because, again, I joke, one of my good friends, brother-in-law bought a bunch of GameStop and all those, like, meme stocks, and the smartest thing he did was take enough money out of his gains to buy a house. And now he let it all ride and it's worth dirt again. But that's the thing. Like, people don't realize, like, at a certain point, like, every stock has a shelf life for a move. And if it goes vertical or down a bunch, at some point it goes sideways and it counter moves. And so trading against it or taking your profits is the guarantee that you're going to win versus roll the dice and hope that you never lose. Like, that's just, everything goes down at some point. Unless it gets bought out, which, again, it depends on what type of market cap names you're looking at. But in general, like the bigger names, they will all find pain at some point. The market will find pain at some point. Companies that are not buyout targets, companies that are been around, dinosaurs, like, they all find pain. Does this make sense? That's why I always laugh at people who don't realize, like, .com bubble, the commodity bubble, the housing bubble, everything at some point burst. And once the momentum's pulled out, you just don't want to be involved other than taking your profits or shorting. Yeah, even ExxonMobil. I mean, there was years where ExxonMobil went nowhere. I mean, that's the only name that's actually survived all the decades and decades and decades. Stocks like GE, High Flyers, Citibank. Remember, all these banks were such big shit. And they've got smoked. Bank of America. Oh, they're the Bank of America. Oh, look at that. Can't get over that 398 area. What's 10 minutes? I got 45 seconds. And again, I enjoy just talking to you guys and gals about this stuff because I think at some point, I know for a fact that there's at least 8 to 15 people who are, like, mentally taking it to the next level. And then there's people who've had issues come and go and they're still on a rising trajectory, but their confidence sometimes wanes. And I get that. Because, again, if your confidence depends on whether you're winning or losing, that sometimes is the problem here. And if you're over aggressively trading yeah, I mean, it's like being, you know, over aggressive in any casino game, right? Like, you're going to have bigger swings. That's just the nature of it. So, I enjoy the lives, bro. I'm glad you do, man. Ask more questions. I really don't mind talking about it because there's a lot of people here who are scared to ask questions to be embarrassed. But it's like, man, I remember when I first started learning this stuff, I would ask like what seemed like the dumbest questions, and they would say, "Go look at this," and I go, "Okay." I mean, that's the worst case scenario. They'd be like, "No, go watch this video or go study this, go read that book, go do something." Like, I'm not going to just sit here and spoon feed you because you're not paying me enough. But ask enough questions, somehow they slip through. Come on. What are you going to do, Spy? What you going to do when they come for you? All right. Well, if there's no questions, Discord room, nothing. We're good to go. Again, at this point, remember, you have a whopper of earnings coming after the close. You got Bank of America, not the close, sorry, in the morning. Bank of America, BlackRock, Citi, Delta, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, United Health. There's probably another one or two big ones, but those are the ones that I thought were important. And on that note, also, too, keep in mind next week. All right, Mark Mack, what's a good question? What, in your opinion, is the proper amount of money to have and trade with? Well, first of all, I would have two accounts. I have an options account, at worst, and a trading account, where it's stock only. Don't mix the damn two. That's the first thing, because I've blown up options accounts, or I've had big losses in options account when things didn't happen. And I thank God every day, if there is a God, whatever, someone omnipotent, I'm thanking the air, that I don't have all my money in an options account. So that's the first thing. Well, and honestly, for an options account, if you are newer to options, or you've been trading options, whatever, have a small account. Prove to yourself that you can make money trading options. Don't fund that sucker with 25, 30, 50 grand and think you're going to somehow like learn how to trade options. Fuck no. Start with 5 or 10. Learn how to manage 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 options. Then have a stock account, and then stock only. And again, at that point, I don't care how big it is. I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, but also trade accordingly, right? Like, sell covered calls against it when you're unsure and you've made profits. I mean, that's one of the biggest and easiest strategies ever. You buy a stock, rises, sell the deep in the money covered calls, guarantee the income, make 3 to 5%, boom, every month. You can do that. Pull that money out, pay yourself. It's just when you say trading, you know, a lot of people they can't separate the two. You have to understand, like in options, the probability that at some point your option, your trade is going to absolutely get annihilated increases exponentially, especially when you're using short-dated options and out of the money. Like, I try to go give myself more time and be in the money. Oh, I can't buy 100 options. No, I don't. I might buy the same amount as some of y'all, 5, 10, 15, maybe 20, max. Because I want to trade, I want to get the delta, 1-for-1 return. That's a good question. It's a great question. Because it really depends. Like, how much money do you have, too? Like, I mean, how much are you sitting here with? You have to, like, have that in your mind, right? So, just, man, there's no, like, easy answer. Because everybody's personality is different, right? Like, maybe you have more risk tolerance, which can be good and a bad thing. But, like, there's somebody new that was hitting me up. They're like, they're buying stocks. They're buying 500 shares and putting 20-cent stops. And I'm like, you're buying stocks and expecting them to not move 20 cents and, like, get in and be perfect? Like, that ain't what it is, folks. Like, that's hard as hell. Oh, I'm going to buy all in or buy a large position of a stock and just be like, oh, it's not going to move 20 cents. Well, some of these stocks have 20-cent spreads. Like, that's hard, right? Discord room question. What up, Hamilton? XBI, what are your thoughts on an XBI short here? Wow, well, that looks great. No, let's get to the 10-minute. I mean, you're near the range highs. I mean, I see what you're looking at. I see you. But also see there's a little VAP zone, a little higher. I I mean, I think, again, this is one of those things. Like, if you're willing to take a short and just throw it away, if you're wrong, I don't have a problem with that. Because, again, you're not chasing, you're waiting for the extremes. Like, this is clearly the range, the most, it's in the last 3 to 4 months, the range high. So, that makes sense. All right, example. With a $100,000 stock account, how much would you risk per trade and how much would you go? Well, again, here, that question is, I wish it was as easy as hell. But again, like, what price stocks are you buying? Now, a lot of people want to buy cheap stocks. No, I'd prefer not to. I'd rather buy more expensive stocks that move, that have liquidity, than like cheap names that have always been crappy or low for a reason. Like that always worries me. But with a $100,000 stock account, I mean, I don't even care about even getting in a margin as long as your risk discipline, your risk profile is correct. I mean, use the margin unlimitlessly if you're smart and have stops and discipline. But if you can't, like, that's the question here. Like, do you have the ability to get into a stock, trade, and admit, I have $1, $2, $3, whatever the stop is going to be, and I'm out if I am wrong? Because the problem is what people do is they invest in losers and they dump their winners quick. They don't trade around their positions. They go, oh, here we go. Come on down. Come on down, yeah. There you go, Spider. You could not get over. You could not get over. I see you, Barrel. I see you. The points the matter. Remember, that's why I talk about pre-market highs and lows sometimes. Just watch them. So with a $100,000 stock, I mean, why don't you tell me how you want it, per se, like how you would like to do it? And let me tell you if I can give you some insight on that, Calcardia, because that's a $100,000 stock account can make a lot of money. You can trade hundreds of shares in expensive names and still make thousands of dollars, All right, cool. XOP. All right, $100,000. I mean, at worst, you have to think about, say, for XOP, how many trades do you want to put on in the first place, right? Like, do you want to leave some capital? Or do you try, or is this like your number one trade and you're like, I'm going all in? Oh, crap. Did I just close that chart? Damn it. No. I apologize. Give me 2 seconds. All right. So we talked about buying it down here in the 129 and less. So say you had the ability to buy, say you felt comfortable buying 500, 400 shares, right? You buy 100 shares down here, right? All right. Are you willing to lose $200 or $300 at that point? In my mind, yes, absolutely. And honestly, I look at this area and I go, okay, well, this is probably where it's going to get to. So with 100, 150 shares, I'm not going to crap my pants if it drops 2 or 3 points. Because this is the thing. It's not where the market opens. It's where it closes that's important to me. So that day, okay, I like that. Well, then the next day it gaps down, right? You see it fill in the gap here, potentially. You see it at the trend line. You see it in the trend range. All right, now you add a little more. Boom. And then you in your mind, you average in. So, okay, say your cost basis is 129 plus a 126. Now you're at 127.50 with 250 shares. Say you want to get up to 500. Now the next day it pulls back and it makes a higher low. Now you're buying more. We'll say you only, and again, this is the thing about day to day, how you want to play this out. Now you got 400 shares and you're willing up to maybe go up to 500, but are you okay with 400? Yeah. Well, it gaps up. Perfect. It's already started. Now you can't chase. Now, is it a professional gap? It looks like it. But again, you don't chase. Look what happens. It continues rising. We talked about taking profits on Tuesday or Monday or whatever. Now you bought that dip back and say you sold, you had 400 shares. You sold 200. Now you could buy back another 100, 150 if you're really confident that this is a start of an up move because oil was acting better and natural gas was bottoming. Okay. So now you're up to 350, 400 shares again. And now today you would take it back down to 200. Or if you're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm going to sell covered calls. I'm going to collect a premium. Maybe you sell the 130 calls. 2 weeks out, you get paid 10 or 11 bucks. Guaranteed. And if it goes higher, whatever, it just is what it is. But you're guaranteed that 10, 11 points on 400 shares. You do the math there. It's $4,000. That's pretty good to me. I'm not complaining. Damn, look at the SPY come right back. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, that's the thing. Like and this is, I get really annoyed with folks, and not you personally, but just in general, is people don't practice trade this shit. They don't like go in there and practice trade, and they don't realize like the difference is ultimately decimals and number of shares. It's all literally, you should be treating it all the same. Respect the money, right? Respect the trades. Practice trade this. I'm telling you, if you have a $100,000 account, go gamble and act like an idiot in this practice account to learn, all right, well, that doesn't definitely work, and I can't chase, but be very meticulous with the trading account. Like have a bonsai tree and then have your garden. And grow whatever, try whatever in that garden. But your bonsai tree, you got to trim it very carefully and water it very meticulously at certain times. Because it's really hard for folks to like feel confident unless they know the mistakes. And that's why the market knows you're going to fuck this up. Because in the back of your mind, until you've made every mistake, there's always like this what if, right? Right? Like, man, look at the SPY. You're not surprised by it, are you? No. Like, how many people today were like, I got to buy this. I got to buy the market. I got to buy it. It's up. And it's led them to what? Pain. Looks like they're investigating Biden. Hey, Yodi. That just popped. That literally headline just popped. I mean, again, I don't know if that's bullish or bearish long term, but either way, the market pulled back. But does that help Calcardia? Because this is where it's like, man, please. And this is where I keep telling the new people and the folks asking questions about things. Go get a practice account, whatever, every brokerage has one, and put the amount in there that you have in your account and just start fucking around if you got to learn this. And be like, why does Dan say not chase? And then you bought 200 shares of the SPY today at $3.97. You go, oh, crap. I got my itch out of there to chase. Oh, it got over the 200-day. I got to buy. No. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Does this help, guys, gals, friends, aliens, CIA, whoever's listening, FBI, Hunter Biden, if you're listening? What's up? Let's go smoke that Parmesan, son. Because I think that's the thing people don't realize is like, pretend whatever your favorite sport is. I love basketball. I go into the gym when no one's around and I practice stupid shots and I practice the fundamentals and I do all of this stuff to like try to make my left hand just as strong as my right hand. I exercise so that in the game it's real easy. You have to think of it like you have the platform to practice and to understand this. Because again, these rules don't make, again, a hill of beans in your brain until you start making mistakes. My goal is to make sure you don't make mistakes, but I can't guarantee that you won't, and you can't either, right? Like it's like telling a kid or telling a friend or telling someone, you shouldn't date that person, you shouldn't do that, you should that. No. Until the results are owned, then they feel real. Well, that's why I very always worry for folks. Is like, you don't want to learn in the market. You don't want to have an expensive tuition bill. And that's why I'm like very, 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 very appreciative of folks who donate. Because again, even if it's $1, I don't care. Like, you realize there's an education here that you're getting and saving yourself, hopefully, from getting buried first. Because everybody who starts trading with no real understanding of the market will get buried. Nobody is immune. Zero. I think that might be actually the most impressive record about the market. Because I don't think there's a single trader who's ever started who didn't get buried at some point. Literally, everybody gets destroyed. Do you have to get destroyed? Do you want to be destroyed? No, that's the goal here, is not. I don't want to see any of y'all get smoked. Learn from my mistakes. Learn from my mistakes. Like, my tuition bill is 7 figures. You don't need it. You don't need to do that. You don't have to have that kind of volatility in your account balance, your daily life, your social life. Man, it is a fucking nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare to let the market destroy you and then have to come back from it. Now, some people have to do it because in their personalities, they like, I have to know why. Well, I was one of those idiots. Now I'm much more humble. I'm like, hey, if you're telling me something and it's right and you've been making money or doing something well, I'm not, great, cool. I'm assuming that you're not going to be lying to me or misleading me. And that's the assumption here. Like, you would hope that I'm not sitting here just making this shit up behind a microphone going, I don't know what the hell is going on. No, hopefully this all becomes very visceral and real. Yep. I mean, the saying is, like, you don't know what's hot until you touch the burner. Well, don't do that. I'm telling you, because sometimes touching the burner hurts a lot. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm not surprised the market found a reason to pull back. Does it really matter at this point? No, we talked about it being overbought. Man, now Amazon is black or red. XOP hit. Man, did anyone take? I don't know. I told y'all. Watch it up here. First Solar, what's it doing? All right, coming back. Come on back. ENPH negative. Maybe it'll have a long wick. I don't know. TSM, good call. BAMF. Starting to look like it's rolling. A little longer wick. SPY up a buck. Yeah, okay. We'll see what happens today. I appreciate everyone. Again, I appreciate the love, support, the donations. And honestly, like I said, it just shows to me, like, hey, first of all, I can identify who's following and what's going on. And they actually give a shit. Because, again, people who don't donate probably aren't following what's going on. And, again, like I said, whatever the amount is, it doesn't matter. It shows that you understand, like, you're paying for an education, hopefully, that is well worth it. You're making way more money than you're paying to me, hopefully. And, again, please do. Like, pay yourself. Pay your taxes. Grow your accounts. Buy freaking real estate. And if you do, let me help you out. Trust me. That is the goal here. That is the absolute goal here, is to create a lifestyle where you have FU money, like mailbox money. You have passive income. It doesn't matter. Because, again, the biggest trading account in the world means you have a big problem if you're wrong. You can buy certain assets and you can get invested correctly where whatever happens tomorrow doesn't matter. Because long term, it's feasible that it's always going to go higher or be better. Like, people need places to live. People need commodities potentially in certain cycles. They're going to need whatever asset you want to just derive. Because a lot of people like dividend paying income. Yeah. Some people like REITs. I get it. All that stuff. So, all right. I'm going to get rolling. I appreciate you guys. Please be smart. Please be thoughtful. Talk to you later.